Twice I'd been beaten by the grand loop of the Linville Gorge. On the first occasion, a storm flashed the river to a dangerous level, rendering the crossing impossible. The following winter, I returned, but the weather got nasty. Well, you win some and you lose some. I'm walking through freezing rain, literally, and woke up with the entire ground and vegetation glazed over. So I'm aborting this loop once again. It's still on my list to do. In fact, it's probably risen even higher. I shall return. The trail kept calling back to me, and I was optimistic about the third attempt. This time would be different. Or so I hoped. Well, coming out of the gates, took a wrong turn within a quarter mile. That's Linville Gorge for you. The first crossing of the river is wide and shallow and gave us no problems, although our companions did not share our enthusiasm. Our first view of Shortoff Mountain, and that is the gorge we're heading into on the left. Our initial day promised to be the easiest, but the tricky footing and constant elevation gains and losses reminded me that Linville Gorge miles aren't your average miles. We continued following the river on the second day. Even when out of view, its presence was heard and felt. These miles are not coming easy. We estimated our distance a little while ago, and I had estimated exactly double what I thought we had done once we checked the map. Pretty uncommon for a river trail. Most river trails sort of follow the river, and this one tries to, but it's encased within a steep gorge, so it's got to do a lot of up and down. And we have been gaining and losing a lot of elevation, making for a slow day. At the second river crossing, I was able to find a tricky but passable route. The river was only running 135 cubic feet per second today. This is the same spot on a previous trip when the river was running over 4,000 cubic feet per second. After ferrying the dogs and gear, a burden was lifted, but we now had a massive climb ahead of us. My camera, which took on some water during the crossing, was unable to adequately capture the severity of this prolonged, leg-burning grade. We just hiked one of the steepest trails I've ever had the privilege to walk on. I mean, that thing was unrelenting from the river all the way to the junction with the Table Rock Summit, which is where we're headed now.
I mean, there is a lot of wild land out here.
We reached Table Rock, which offers the best perspective of the gorge, with its view of the river and the uninterrupted expanse of green, with virtually no sign of human development. A truly wild and beautiful place. The morning light illuminated the Chimneys, a geologically interesting area on the eastern rim of the gorge. A deep gap was all that separated us from the final stretch of Shortoff Mountain and the end of the gorge. Well, these miles are not coming easy. We are absolutely worn out. We're on the third and final day. And the reason we did this loop clockwise was to save the best views of the trip for this third day. But we are currently walking across a sun-blasted plateau, and it is hot. As we reached the end of the rim, we relished the views of the gorge, into which we had descended, traversed, then climbed out of. It was a punishing loop, yet very rewarding. A journey through an untrammeled landscape, flanked by rims that rise nearly 1,700 feet above the river which carves it. I had finally conquered the loop and was already mentally checking it off my list. But with its perfect mix of beauty and challenge, the grand loop of Linville Gorge has a way of pulling you back. My mind returned to those failed attempts. Maybe I would be pushing my luck to attempt the loop in the heart of winter. But like I said before, some trails never stop calling you back.